Hey guys, it's 9:18 on October 6th, 2017, and I just want to tell you what the wind speeds are in Puerto Lempira, Honduras. Today, the wind speeds as of 7 a.m. are 16 miles an hour, and who cares? Well, we should. And I'll tell you why. Because we are supposed to be having a tropical hurricane depression cyclone thing forming outside of this particular area, and as usual, there is nothing on radar. Now, over the last hour or so, we have had NASA get their act together and impose this foreboding looking thing. But I want to point out a couple of things. That's not exactly what they had on radar or on satellite about an hour ago. And I want you to listen to what this lovely CNN reporter is telling us about this storm. And then we'll take some measurements to see if what he's saying gels with reality.
Yeah, just literally within the past 90 seconds, the National Hurricane Center hoisting hurricane watches from the central Louisiana coast eastward all the way to the Mississippi and Alabama border. This includes New Orleans as well as Lake Pontchartrain. There are tropical storm watches extending further east than that, just outside of the Panama City region. That information is new to us. We don't even have the graphics prepared to show you, so I'm verbally telling you what is the latest here from the National Hurricane Center.
So we have to actually rely on his word and what we can see for once. For once, they don't have the graphics prepared, which is nice. But unfortunately, over the last hour, they have actually prepared the graphics on this satellite radar composite here. So let's just take a peek at this. We'll get rid of what we see with NASA's cartoonery, and you can see it looks pretty clear here. And as the land speeds are, the ground wind speeds are indicating in that region 16-mile-an-hour winds, which, by the way, do not define a tropical storm. A tropical storm is a tropical cyclone with a maximum sustained winds of at least 34 knots or 39 miles an hour, which is, of course, as usual, not what we're actually seeing being measured on the ground as of 7 a.m. in Honduras, where this thing is supposed to be forming. There are a couple of interesting things I wanted to point out to you if I can get this radar to work right here. This radar has been showing some pretty normal cloud formation here in Cuba. I don't know if I can get this thing to work, but basically what I would be showing you if this thing was working is these clouds, as of last night, were forming over the warm water, which is very normal. What happens is the warm water evaporates over up into the air, and then it condenses onto over the dry land where it cools at night. And as you can see, this has been going on since this morning. But what I want to take a look at here is the shape of these clouds as they come over Cuba, because this is reminding me a lot of what we saw with Hurricane Irma. If you remember from my old videos, and if you don't, I'll have a link in the description so you can watch this video. If you remember, a few days before Hurricane Irma, we had this image being pummeled at us in the news. This is a NASA cartoon gone wild, where you're going to see, if my computer will actually let me run this video, you'll actually see that this hurricane from NASA was superimposed, and it was supposed to, yeah, this thing is just, I'm sorry guys, I'm just really having a hard time with this today. I've been trying to do this for 3 hours, and as I've been making this video, I've been losing all the satellite images, so I'm just going to have to suffer through it right here. Honest to goodness. Okay, I'm just going to pause it here if it will let me. Unreal. Okay, so that's what the latest, greatest MacBook Pro is going to get you, folks. Okay, so this was September 9th, and what we see here is NASA's cartoon. It's supposed to be nailing, at this point, this is when it stayed here for a few days, supposedly, nailing this whole region of Cuba. But as I show in this video, which I do encourage you to go and look at, you'll see the wind speeds in Havana, the wind speeds at the other places around here were registering 9, 12, 20 miles an hour. Nothing of hurricane strength, although this was supposed to be a Category 4 or 5 hurricane that was just pummeling the area. But I kept my eye on the radar that day, and what I ended up seeing was that this particular series of clouds that were brewing off the NASA Bahamas came through down in through here and took on a cyclone shape over the course of the 24 hours. So whereas we had seen absolutely no hurricane for the 4 or 5 days that I had been tracking the wind speeds on the ground across the islands from Dominican Republic to Cuba, none of the wind speeds on land actually matched what this crazy cartoon was coming from NASA. Suddenly, over the 9th and the early morning of the 10th, this thing became a hurricane right over Cuba. And what we saw with this was, let me scroll over here, I have to do it really slow. What we saw using this radar from Cuba itself, we saw this thing actually become a hurricane. It took on the shape. So it was just a bunch of clouds coming down from NASA Bahamas, and then Hurricane Irma became a hurricane on September 9th. This thing was not in the Caribbean. I want to stress this. I can't stress this enough. This thing did not appear on radar until it became a formation of a hurricane. Now, at this point, if you're watching this video from that I did on September 9th, you're going to see the wind speeds still remain very, very low. This was not even a tropical storm, although electronically, and I say electronically because I'll show you how this thing took shape, if it'll play. Nice and slow. There we go. See that? See these striations in this? There are electromagnetic frequency transmitters and emitters somewhere in Cuba that were doing this. Okay, I don't know what they are. Lots of people have speculated. It's NEXRAD, it's this, it's that. I don't know what it is. All I know is that you can see there's a tremendous amount of electromagnetic frequency that's taking place in Cuba that made Hurricane Irma. Now, why does this count? Why do we even care? Well, because I have a feeling that what we're seeing here is just another nonsense story coming from NASA, and they wanted to get the story out early because, as this guy told you here, they didn't even have the graphics prepared. But what did the radar land speed readings tell us? The radar land speeds told us that these wind speeds were very, very low this morning. Let's just see if we can get back here in this area and get any more land speed readings. So here we go. Puerto Lempiras, 16 miles an hour. So that's nowhere close to tropical storm. But like I said, we've got some funky stuff happening up here in Cuba that I want to keep an eye on, because supposedly we have a hurricane or a tropical storm that's going to come blitzing up here. I'm suspecting that we don't have anything happening down there because it's not showing up on radar. But we do have something very funky happening here. Now, the sun is up in Cuba. The sun is up. So this moisture should stop evaporating pretty soon here. As the sun comes up, the temperature is going to rise to make an equilibrium here where there's not going to be a vapor pressure deficiency. So unless there's something actively working very hard here in this area, which I suspect we've got a lot of electromagnetic activity like we did in the creation of that quote-unquote Hurricane Irma, which actually, go back and watch my videos, you guys. The thing was never an actual hurricane. So let's just take a peek here at this Cuban radar and see what we have. We definitely see that there is some cloud formation. There's some evaporation happening here. I don't know why it's continuing now that the sun is up. It may continue for the rest of the day, but let's just see what's happening over here. You can see some strange blips on this radar up here north towards the Bahamas, and those do not look like normal clouds, guys. You've got some frequency interference up here, and we're going to keep an eye on this. You've got also some down here to the southeast, right down there. So we're going to keep an eye on this for the rest of the day and see if this tropical storm Nate becomes anything, because this is how they do it, guys. And that's it. It's your morning update.